Tonight, the Cameroonian Football Federation gets a new president. 46 out of 66 delegates cast their votes in favor of Seydou Njoya. It was during the elective General Assembly of the Cameroonian Football Federation, which took place in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. Today, in this newscast, we tell you about what happened, the stakes, and what is expected between now and the months to come as far as the Cameroonian Football Federation FECAFOOT is concerned. We are also going to be talking about how the Anglophone crisis has been affected institutions in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon, precisely academic institution, and the chairman of the Social Democratic Front, Nijon Frundi, that has totally criticized the disarmament committee put in place by the President of the Republic. We shall be right back with the details. Stay with us. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. Let's begin right away in the nation's capital, where the new president of the Cameroonian Football Federation, FECAFOOT, is known. Seydou Njoya came first in today's elective General Assembly with 46 votes out of 66 participating delegates present in the conference room that was in Tinga, Yaoundé. Joseph Bell Antoine occupies the second position with 17 votes, and the third on the list we have Monge Nyamsi Daniel with 3 votes. Even Chindan Emmanuel Mabuang Kesak had 0 votes each during the elective General Assembly of the Cameroonian Football Federation, which started this morning. Frank Api formed an alliance with Bell Joseph Antoine, and Bisson Egbe Emmanuel equally rallied behind Even Chinda, but that was not enough for them to be able to defeat Seydou Njoya, that had an overwhelming victory. That was 46 votes out of 66. The normalization committee headed by Barrister Dieudonné Api would hand over the federation to Seydou Njoya and his team. That's going to be in 4 days from now, when the latter would be installed. It has been years of stalemate at the Cameroonian Football Federation, rocked by crisis since 2013 after the re-election of incarcerated Iya Mohamed. Many are hoping that the election that took place today would finally put an end to the crisis or the saga that has so far been rocking FECAFOOT. And we are being joined tonight by Smart Njikan Gabriel, who has been keen on happenings at FECAFOOT football in Cameroon and beyond. Good evening to you, Smart Njikan Gabriel. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Mimi, and good evening to the televiewers who are watching us this evening. I'm live again. You know, it's been a long time that I came live.
Thank you so much once again for joining us. Now, Seydou Njoya is the new president of the Cameroonian Football Federation. Many say that they were not taken by surprise because it was already known that he was going to be president. Is that the view that you the perception that you had as far as this election is concerned?
Well, from the onset, Mimi, from the look of the trends, what I was seeing on social media and what I've been listening to, I know there was going to be a staunch battle between Seydou Njoya and Joseph Bell Antoine. Those were the 2 candidates I was looking up to. I know that if there is no winner, if Joseph Antoine doesn't pick the position of FECAFOOT, then it should be Seydou Njoya. At the end of the day, we already had the results. Seydou Njoya became the president of FECAFOOT, and we know so well that before now there have been so many rumors talking about the Seydou Njoya being the president of FECAFOOT. Many already know that it has been cooked up already.
Was it a favorite because it was cooked up, like you said, or because it's the favorite actually of the various delegates in the Cameroonian Football Federation and Cameroon in general?
Well, if you want to talk of favorites, many would have been thinking about the ex-goalkeeper, the Indomitable Lions ex-goalkeeper, that is Joseph Antoine Bell, who is more popular. We know what he did while keeping the cage for the Cameroon in the years back. But talking about Seydou Njoya, many might not know much about him, but many today will know much about Seydou Njoya, and it is something we should say congratulations to Seydou Bombo-Joyam, whom many had already tipped as the winner before the elections, and it has come to a reality, even though it was cooked. We are now waiting for what he's going to do as president.
Even though we don't have that
certainty, but like when we started listening to the way things were going, we have been on the ground, we have been listening to the different comments on social media, and even our friends, we already knew what was going to happen. Many people already said he was going to win. It was like they already knew that he is the winner.
Let's talk about the saga on social media between two former Indomitable Lions legends, as I can put it, Samuel Eto'o and Bell Joseph Antoine. Could this have had an impact on the performance of Joseph Antoine Bell today?
We are not going to draw a conclusion on that. We are going to stay. We watch keenly to see whether Joseph Antoine Bell will be appointed as the National Football Technical Director. If that appointment comes to pass, then we are going to say that something is wrong somewhere with Cameroon football, meaning even with the election of Seydou Bombo-Joyam, things might not go the same, might not go the way people of Cameroon wanted it. Yes, so I'm thinking that what Joseph Antoine Bell and Samuel Eto'o had, and later Mila Roger also took into the game.
And other former players of the
I just want to see that like a distraction for the sports loving population of Cameroon. I call it a distraction.
And had nothing to do with the election.
Had nothing with the election. The elections were just there, and we know that whatever happened between the ex-Lions, those who came out and spoke in favor of, and those who were against, that was just a distraction for the sport-loving population. And as I said, if Joseph Bell Antoine is appointed as the National Technical Director of Football, that is where we are going to say something really happened behind. Maybe the whole show was cooked up, but notwithstanding, we cannot actually put it as cooked. Seydou Bombo-Joyam is the new president of FECAFOOT.
And now the problem is now what happens next. We know in few days from now, the normalization committee that's been there for more than 1 year now, headed by Dieudonné Habi, is going to be handing over to the new executive bureau at the Cameroonian Football Federation. The stalemate has been for a long time now, more than 6 years. Many are describing it as the beginning of an end to this crisis that has been rocking FECAFOOT. Do you see it that way, Sumanjika and Gabriel?
Few days back, we had the president of CAF, Ahmad answering to questions of journalists in Ghana during the African Women's Championship. He made mention, even before the withdrawal of the African Nations Cup, he made mention of Cameroon that doesn't have a president guiding the federation. Now we have a president. Now, getting back into your question, I just want to believe the new man, Seydou Bombo-Joyam, will have much on his table to handle. You know, there have been several saga, there have been several misappropriation of funds in FECAFOOT. There have been things within the football house of Cameroon that were not going on well. And I'm sure him coming in as the new president of FECAFOOT is going to have a lot of challenges in front of him. Remember, there's a FECAFOOT building that till date, much money has been spent on that FECAFOOT building, but we have not seen the end of day till date as we are talking. So Seydou Bombo-Joyam will have that in hand, and also we have to go back to the drawing board. You know, FECAFOOT had so many ghost workers and those who are just there because they have some links. We are going to see what he can do, but notwithstanding, as you rightly put it, the challenge ahead is not going to be very, very easy for Seydou Bombo-Joyam. Maybe he's somebody who knows the four corners of FECAFOOT, but he's going to have some challenges before him. Yeah, before him, there will be so many things for him to handle. So it's just for us to wish him the best.
And above all, the hosting of the 2021.
That is if
AFCON, is going to be
those are some of the challenges, but he has some challenges within the house that he has to handle first. As we have already mentioned, there is this structure, FECAFOOT structure, that till date They have spent more than 50 million on that, but nothing has been seen, as that is the head office of FECAFOOT, and we have other petty issues within the house that Seydou Bombonjoya will need to tackle very briefly. Maybe for us to recall the votes, as you rightly put it, we know that Seydou Bombonjoya won a total number of 46 votes, and he beat Joseph Antoine Bell hands down. Joseph Antoine Bell had just 17 votes, and remember, before the voting itself started, we had some persons who had already desisted. They said they were not going to vote again.
And they had to rally behind
others. We have Bison Emmanuel, who had to give his own vote to Chinda Eve, and we have the likes of Frank Happy, who also announced that he was going to support Bell. So everything being equal, it is a danger. I don't know whether it's a baptism of fire that will be given to Seydou Bombonjoya when he gets into the office.
A huge task ahead for him.
Good.
He has a lot of challenges, like you indicated. Sumanjikan Gabriel, thank you so much for joining us tonight to tell us more on what happened at the Cameroonian Football Federation today. Thank you so much. That was Sumanjikan Gabriel talking about Seydou Bombonjoya, who came first in today's elective General Assembly of the Cameroonian Football Federation, FECAFOOT. We now have the 7th candidate running for that run for FECAFOOT's top job, and it is coming after the normalization committee that is headed by Dieudonné Happy has been there for 15 months. We're hoping that this is going to put an end to the crisis that has been rocking Cameroon's Football Federation. On to something else. Over 12 students have reportedly been kidnapped from the University of Bamenda, while in the northwest region of Cameroon. Authorities are yet to make a statement on the incident, which happened just a few days ago, and is coming to add up to the series of adoptions, intimidation and destruction of institutions in the 2 Anglophone regions of the country. Babila Jonathan in the following report is going to be taking a look at the impact of the crisis in academic institutions. His report.
Since November 2016, schools in the restive northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon have come under recurrent attacks by gunmen. Public and private schools in several parts of the English-speaking regions have remained closed. Many of the schools have been partially or completely burnt down. Consequently, hundreds of pupils and students have not been able to go to school, while thousands of others have crossed over into parts of the littoral and west regions and other parts of the country. According to the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, UNICEF, over 5 million children resumed school last September 3rd, but a good number of children in the northwest and southwest regions did not have the opportunity to return to school due to multiple threats and attacks by gunmen. Some of the students and school officials who continued going to school were abducted and later released, and others killed. UNICEF and the Cameroon government have vehemently condemned violence, attacks, abductions, intimidation, and aggression on schools in the crisis-hit regions. Notwithstanding, as the crisis deepens further, schools, pupils, students, teachers, and school officials are continuously being targeted. The last case of abduction of students is reported in the University of Bamenda. 2 successive academic years have been interrupted in the 2 English-speaking regions by the crisis.
And the chairman of the Social Democratic Front, Nijan Frundi, has so far described the current state of affairs in Cameroon today as chaotic. He was speaking to media men and women in his Ntarinkon residence, that is in Bamenda Northwest region, during which he said that the country is being narrowed down into a deep ocean. Fomi Armstrong Sander and Bo Stella tell us more in the following report.
The newly created Fayengo Francis-led National Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration Commission, the indefinitely postponed Anglophone General Conference, CAF's withdrawal of the 2019 AFCON ride from Cameroon, and the banning of Cameroon's lone air transport company, Cameco, from flying out of the country, characterized the press conference of Nijan Frundi, SDF National Chairman in Bamenda, December 12, 2018.
I feel very frightened about the state of our country now. If today the AFCON this thing has been cancelled, if today Cameroon Airlines is banned from flying anywhere out of Cameroon, I think that they are narrowing us down to drown in the deep oceans.
Describing the current state of affairs in Cameroon as a world beyond words, John Frundi says he feels sorry for the younger generation in the country. He frowned at the suffering impacted on the people of the northwest and southwest regions of the country by a war he accused President Paul Biya of having declared, hence describing the Fayengo Francis-led commission as yet another commission like others which have failed over time in Cameroon.
I stand corrected. Can I have just one commission in Cameroon that has ever come up with the results to say, we went, we discussed this, we discovered this, and this is what, and the head of state said, yes, please let us resolve this thing this way.
To detoxify them and get them come back fit in society is a project that the government needs to study and put people to do this. More so, who declared the war? You cannot declare a war. People have died from both sides, yes. And today you come tell me that Amber boys put down your guns and your soldiers are there following them and killing, burning places. From both camps, they've destroyed the economy of the North-Southwest. And today we are having a new phenomenon where we are reliably told that people high up in government have their own camps. They set fire on my compound here. They set fire, they destroyed my whole compound in the village.
The Social Democratic Front National Chairman declared his support for the Anglophone General Conference initiative, which he says can produce better results for a way out of the deepening socio-political crisis in Anglophone Cameroon.
Conference that Cardinal Toomey and the other prelates were advocating for is a thing I support. We have to start talking somewhere. At one time they accused me that I was talking to Ambazonians. They called me on my phone nearly every other day, and I talked to them.
Coming few months after the dismal performance of the Social Democratic Front Party in the October 7 presidential election in Cameroon, John Frundi says the SDF still has hopes of survival and is using its presence in the Senate, the Parliament and some councils where they are represented as a springboard to jump higher and further.
And close to 300 civil servants of the police corps have so far been decorated with epaulets. It was during a ceremony which took place here in the country's economic capital, Douala. The epaulet award ceremony of the about 280 civil servants of the police corps took place at the esplanade of the Douala City Council that was today presided over by the governor of the littoral region, Samuel Dodoneva Dibois. He was representing the Delegate General for National Security. Amongst those who were awarded for their hard work, we have 20 Deputy Superintendent of Police, we have 31 second grade assistant superintendents of police, we equally have 3 senior police inspectors, 219 second grade police inspectors, 4 senior police constables and 2 second grade police constables. It took place here in the country's economic capital, Douala, and they were told to serve the nation in diligence and objectivity. It was here in the economic capital, Douala. On to something else. The 95-year-old life story of late Cameroonian business tycoon Kaji Defoto has been compiled in a book written by veteran journalist Alain Foka. Launched yesterday in the city of Douala, the book and a close to 3-hour documentary has so far been described as a masterpiece of inspiration, especially for the young generation in Cameroon. Details in the following report.
A fascinating history, the story of a man who left indelible footprints and marks on his generation, the younger generation, and for those to come. The story of a patriarch and an outstanding industrialist, Joseph Kaji Defoso, recounted in 117 pages and in a 2-hour 30 minutes documentary by veteran journalist Alain Foka.
It's a story of a remarkable man remarkable person with a tremendous push, tremendous envy to always achieve. I think that was the key word in his life, is to be able to achieve. He always asks us, what did you achieve? What are you going to achieve? What have you done?
The book and documentary, launched at Galerie Annie Kashi in Douala Tuesday, trace the journey of Joseph Kashi de Fosso from grass to grace.
C'est l'histoire d'un homme simple, de monsieur tout le monde, qui part de son village, qui arrive dans la grande ville et qui devient l'une des plus grandes fortunes de ce pays.
It's very difficult to tell a man's life in 217 pages. It's even harder to tell a man's life who's 95 years old, who's done as much as my granddad has done in 217 pages. But this book is a glimpse. It's a few moments of his life. It's testimony from his friends, testimony from his families, testimonies from his business partners, his competitors. So it's a complete version of him, and you have the whole information, which is important to be able to assess who a person is and what he did.
The impact of the life of Joseph Kashi de Fosso, written down and narrated in this book and documentary, is far-reaching.
This is for youth to be able to see that a man is capable of coming from nothing and becoming the person that he was. So it's a testimony, and I think people are going to read this book and really see the life of someone who was able to dream and able to work hard towards his dreams.
Ce qui nous enseigne, c'est qu'on n'a pas besoin d'être passé par les canaux traditionnels de grandes écoles pour réaliser des choses. Ça doit inspirer les jeunes qui doivent comprendre qu'on peut réussir en restant sur place. On n'a pas forcément besoin de prendre la mer pour réussir.
Joseph Kashi de Fosso is no more, but his works would live to speak for him after him.
And that brings us to the end of this first segment of the news. Up next, Talking Point. We shall be right back. We've been joined tonight by Barrister Michele NDOCKI. Barrister, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much for coming. We are going to be talking about the protest which took place in France, the lesson that Cameroon can draw from the reaction of the French President Emmanuel Macron. But before we come to that, today the Cameroonian Football Federation has a new president. Seydou Mbonjoya was elected. It is coming after we've been having series of crises within the Cameroonian Football Federation. We even saw the president of the Confederation of African Football saying that Cameroon is not even having a president at the helm of its federation, that is FECAFOOT. Do you think that after this election, we could start talking about an end to the crisis in FECAFOOT?
I wish the new president well in trying to bring an end to this crisis, because I don't think it's just about someone being elected president. It's about the whole system and how it's being run. So I hope he is bold, has a true vision for the football of our country, and he's a strong character, because he will need all of that to be able to cope with the pressure that will certainly come with his appointment or his election in the coming weeks or months. It is sad. It's very sad, because we all know how dear football is to our fellow Cameroonians, and we all know the role that football could play in bringing peace or preserving peace in our country. But hey, we are where we are. Again, I wish him really well, and let's wait and see.
Now, like I indicated, for some weeks now, the French population, especially the protesters that took to the streets, more than 100 of them, decrying the 100,000 of them, of course, rising against fuel tax rise. They were equally complaining about high cost of living, even though some were arrested and others actually brutalized by security forces. At the end of the day, the French president came and said that he has listened to their grievances and that he was going to look into them and that they were legitimate. What is your assessment of the way the situation has so far been handled by the French president, looking at the time frame that it took for him to react, just less than 2 months?
It's always very difficult to throw a judgment or an assessment on the situation of people in another country. My take on it is that they are old enough and smart enough to deal with their own issues. But of course, this is teaching us a lesson. Some years back, and I was still young, and I heard Mr. Paul Biya saying he was one of the best, if not the best student of France when it comes to politics. And we see that the way the Cameroonian government has been reacting to the grievances expressed by the people of Cameroon is very similar with what France usually does in this kind of situation. That is how they managed the independence movement in the 50s in our country. And we think that is the way they tried to handle the situation in France in the beginning. If you remember well, the speeches were around, people are breaching the law, we not accept that, we will not tolerate that, we are arresting people because, yes, you have the right to go down on strike, but you must abide to the rules of the law. That was during the first few days. And then they realized this was not going to work, because it is easy to say that when you have 100 people, 200, 1,000 maybe people in the street. It becomes another story when you have people down on the street in many cities and they are in hundreds of thousands. That makes it a completely different conversation. And I think this is something that we should think about. The question is not really, are we abiding to the law? We all know the principles. When you're not happy with the situation in a republic, you have the constitutional right, and nobody can deprive you from this right. You have the right to say you're not happy. Now, the more people express their unhappiness, the more they are likely to be hurt. What made the difference, in my humble view, between the attitude of the French government in the beginning and the attitude of the head of state yesterday, I think, is the number of people who went down, and the fact that they realized this was really
and the strategy that was being used to handle it was not the best.
Exactly.
This could certainly be a lesson to the Cameroonian authority. We know about the situation in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon that has been going on for 2 years now, and it's deepening on daily basis. It is no longer news that classes are not ongoing, especially in those interior localities, and
3
that the
years
situation
consecutively,
is what lesson could this be? How could this be? Could this be a lesson to the Cameroonian authorities?
I hear you loud and clear when you say is it a lesson for the Cameroonian government? But to me, the question we should start asking ourselves is, what is the lesson to us? Because we've been talking to the Cameroonian government. They have been having advisors, negotiators, strikes, etc., etc. Everybody is down on the street. Lecturers, people from the hospitals, students, people on the shipyards. Everybody is down, and everybody at a point of time saying, I'm not happy with my situation. And the answer is always the same. Either they try to corrupt the leaders of the movement, or they send you to jail, they threaten you, etc. So I think at a point of time we need to ask ourselves, is it the right way to address the situation? Because after all, we are the one being aggrieved. Is it the right way to talk to the government and say, can you see this? What does that tell you? Mm-hmm. Or should we ask ourselves, what can we learn about that? And to me, we should focus on the lesson as a people that France is teaching us at the moment. And not only France, we have Togo.
An institution.
Oh, yes.
We have a government and an
but
institution.
We would have this.
It's just a new government because the president has just been re-elected.
It's not a new government. The president was not re-elected, and he's not he's just sworn in, and he's not been here for a short period of time. And the government has still not been changed, which is not normal. So, question is, are we going to keep talking to the same person? Insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. So what is the way forward? The way forward is to realize that we own this conversation. We are the one to decide where we are going next. What are we going to change in our behavior? Should be the question we ask ourselves.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Barrister, for joining us tonight on Talking Point. We hope to have you some other time again. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
To our viewers, it was equally a pleasure having with us in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs until we meet again. Goodbye.